And it sets off for the city. Having completed a trip on the Daceyville line, this tram is turning into Anzac Parade, bound for Dowling Street Depot. A flat car, known as a ballast motor, turns onto the Daceyville line from Anzac Parade and heads along Gardeners Road towards Rosebery sand sidings, alongside Rosebery Park Racecourse. A tram from Daceyville to the city passes the racecourse. Like trains, trams use sand to aid their grip on wet rails, and the sand for trams was collected from these sand hills, loaded into bags and conveyed by ballast motors such as this to depots around the network. Having collected its load, the tram heads back towards Waverley or Dowling Street Depot. The line to Botany and Matraville ran from Redfern south through industrial suburbs and close to the shore of Botany Bay. Chalmers Street at Cleveland Street. Redfern Street, Redfern. Regent Street inbound at the Redfern Street corner. The outbound tram approaching is one of the last 5 of the R class, which were converted during construction to the R1 design. Note the window spacing. The inbound tram turns into Redfern Street. Botany Road near the corner of Burke Street. Beaconsfield. Near Park Road, a dedicated tramway employee oils a check rail. Still in Botany Road, we are in Banks Meadow. Turning into Beecham Road and the end of double track. Perry Street, at the end of which most trams terminated at this hotel at Bunnerong Road. A few trips continued to Military Road. This single frame is the only available view showing the abandoned line to La Perouse, curving left from the end of the track at Matraville. An inbound tram near the end of the line in Bunnerong Road near Hassel Street. Inbound in Perry Street at the Bunnerong Road corner. The Matraville line had one of only 2 level crossings in Sydney between a railway and a tram line, in Beecham Road. The other one was on the Balmain line in Rozelle. In 1952, new terminal tracks were laid into Chelmsford Avenue off Botany Road, and the line was cut back to this point. Married cars were not allowed to stop here. A tram arrives at the Chelmsford Avenue terminus. A lady walks toward a connecting bus for Matraville, but our cameraman makes her vanish before the bus moves off. Our record of the Botany line ends with the tram leaving the Chelmsford Avenue terminus for the city. From Dowling Street Depot, a single-track connecting line led to the Rosebery and Botany lines. The conductor collects the staff at Dowling Street. The depot can be seen in the background as the tram turns into O'Day Avenue. In tramway days, the connection from Joynton Avenue to Burke Street was on unpaved track, with puddles evident after rain. After the tram line closed, O'Day Avenue was extended along the tramway alignment. The off-centre placement of the single track in Burke Street meant that trams had to run against the flow of traffic in one direction. Burke Street at Botany Road, with trams heading back to Dowling Street at the end of the afternoon peak hour. O'Day Avenue near Dowling Street. Alexandria was served by a branch from the Botany line along Henderson and Mitchell Roads. The crew change ends at the terminus at the corner of Mitchell Road and the Princess Highway, St Peters, before returning to the city. The Alexandria line connected with the Cooks River line at this spot. From Rockdale Station, an isolated line ran down Bay Street to Brighton-Lee Sands. On the last day of operation in 1949, a tram heads along the Grand Parade at Brighton-Lee Sands, bound for Rockdale. Northbound in Bay Street. Passing another tram at Far Street Loop. Passing the junction for the spur line to the depot. Rockdale Terminus. The climb from Rockdale in Bay Street. We saw trolley buses at Cogra a few minutes ago. Sydney's first trolley bus route, from the city to Potts Point, had opened in 1934. These views are in Park Street. All the trolley buses eventually found their way to the Cogra system. The first two were single deck. This is number 1. Numbers 3, 4 and 5 were double deckers with 2 axles. Whilst the rest of the fleet, numbering 21 vehicles, had twin axles at the rear. This trolley bus is leaving Rockdale. The front seat on the top deck provided a good view. We are in Rocky Point Road, passing the depot at Ritchie Street. Sanssouci Terminus, with the bitumen surface in the centre of the road showing the location of the former steam tram tracks. Today, Captain Cook Bridge is on the right. Kogarah Station. The trolley buses mostly followed the former steam tram routes with an extension northwards to Rockdale. A trolley bus shows a good turn of speed along the Princes Highway. The lines along Pitt and Castlereagh Streets serve the routes to southern suburbs passing through Newtown, together with the Botany Road routes. There was also a shuttle service between the Quay and Central Railway. Circular Quay, Pitt Street, a Matraville tram turns out of Pitt Street at Goulburn Street. Climbing the ramp to the Central Station terminus at the railway colonnade. Now we are aboard a tram climbing to the colonnade. Before the opening of the City Railway in 1926, this was an extremely busy service. As we will see, trams returned to Central Railway in 1997. Swinging out of the colonnade, crossing Eddy Avenue, and descending the ramp towards Castlereagh Street. Crossing Hay Street. An inbound tram turns from Pitt Street into Hay Street, and another tram turns into Castlereagh Street. Swinging into Bligh Street, Bent Street, Macquarie Place, and so back to Circular Quay. Trams on the Newtown group of lines continued north along Pitt Street past Central Station to Railway Square, where they rounded the loop and turned left into Broadway. At the corner of Broadway and City Road Junction, trams for the Newtown or Green lines turned into City Road, where the tracks were located on the western side, adjacent to Victoria Park and Sydney University. The Newtown lines were known as the Green lines, from the colour used on their destination signs. Cooks River Terminus. The tram line continued across Cooks River to a yard at Walleye Creek, where tramway track work was fabricated. The yard was adjacent to the railway line at this point. The track across Cooks River was on the eastern side of the bridge, a bridge long since replaced by a wider structure. Outbound on the Earlwood line in Illawarra Road, Marrickville. Inbound at Undercliff. Crossing the Cooks River at Undercliff. Inbound from Earlwood, descending towards Cooks River. Earlwood Terminus. A cross-country service ran from Cooks River via Sydenham to Dulwich Hill. This tram is turning out of the Princes Highway towards Sydenham. Sydenham Station. Now we visit the Canterbury line, turning from Enmore Road into Addison Road. Joining Canterbury Road from Livingston Road. A fast run along Canterbury Road approaching Dulwich Hill. Work underway for the cutting back of the Canterbury service to Dulwich Hill in 1954. At the former Hurlston Park Junction, the overhead wires for the long closed line to Summer Hill can be seen in the top right of the picture. More fast running on the last stretch to Canterbury. Canterbury Station, and Canterbury Terminus. An important cross-country service ran from Darling Street Wharf at Balmain to Canterbury. This Canterbury-bound tram is in Darling Street, about to cross Victoria Road. Near Callan Park, Parramatta Road. Crystal Street climbing towards Petersham Station. Balmain bound, turning from Railway Street into Parramatta Road. Petersham Station. Canterbury Road at Livingston Road. Another line independent of the main network extended from Ashfield via Enfield and Burwood to Mortlake and Cabarita. In this surviving segment of film, a tram is rounding the balloon loop at Cabarita Park beside the Parramatta River. At Cabarita Junction, the conductor returns the staff to its box under the watchful eye of an inspector. At the Enfield depot, a large wreath signifies that this is the last day of operation. And a group of trammies pose for a farewell photo. The terminus for trams which ran along George Street in the city was at Fort Macquarie, where there was a tram depot built in the style of the original fort at this spot. In 1959, the depot was demolished to make way for the Opera House. Few places in Sydney have undergone such a transformation. A view from the northwest corner of the Botanic Gardens of the terminal tracks alongside the depot. And the view from the same place today. A corridor tram arrives at Fort Macquarie Terminus, and a toast rack tram leaves on an outbound journey. The view from about the same spot today. The departing tram heads around the depot and swings past Man o' War steps. Trams approach the terminus with a then new office block in the background. The same view today with the office block gone. A pair of toast rack trams arrives at the terminus. looking from the same spot in the same direction today. An outbound tram makes its way along Circular Quay East and along Alfred Street. The buildings at the top of the picture were demolished to make way for the luxurious Regent Hotel. The Millers Point line was a comparative backwater which provided an alternative terminus for some of the George Street services. The balloon loop at Argyle Place, near the Garrison Church, was only a stone's throw from the heart of the rocks. The view from a tram in Lower George Street nearing Circular Quay. Tram traffic in George Street seen from a vantage point near King Street. The letters at right are part of a sign saying Gibb and Beeman, still there 30 years later. Farmer's store at the corner of Market Street. The Queen Victoria building long before its restoration. From the Town Hall steps. At the Haymarket. Some inbound trams terminated at a loop in the Haymarket. This tram is in Hay Street, turning into Parker Street, in Barlow Street, and turning back into George Street to commence an outbound journey. Railway Square, and a tram makes a slightly unusual move as it crosses from the George Street lines to the eastern suburbs tracks. At the southern end of Railway Square. Approaching is an OP class tram, one of a few O's partly upgraded to the P design after accidents. Broadway shared by 11 routes in the heyday of the trams. City Road Junction, adjacent to Grace Brothers store. The signal box under the trees at left operated the junctions for the Glebe Point and Balmain lines. This tram is turning into Glebe Point Road, bound for Glebe. Parramatta Road at Ross Street. Trams going to and from Leichhardt. Now we'll visit the Abbotsford line, which turned off the Leichhardt line at Leichhardt Town Hall. An inbound tram at the junction. Marion Street. Haberfield Shops. And a short working tram heads back towards the city. Algae Park. Outbound at Harrowbrook Avenue. Climbing towards Five Dock. On the last stretch to Abbotsford along Great North Road. Abbotsford terminus, where the tracks curve towards the gutter to avoid runaway trams ending up in the Parramatta River. An inbound tram leaves for the city. A motorist's view of a tram in a street wide enough and quiet enough for the tram to have little impact on traffic. This was not the case where streets were narrower. We close as the inbound tram nears Lyons Road. The Lilyfield and Balmain lines passed through Forest Lodge and then descended to Harold Park. This stretch of reserved track is now part of Minogue Crescent. An outbound tram approaches the junction between the Balmain and Lilyfield lines, known within the tramway organisation as Epping Junction. Leaving the junction for Lilyfield. Trams for Lilyfield cross Johnston's Creek on a bridge exclusively for their use. The bridge still stands for pedestrians. Taylor Street. Swinging from Booth Street into Moore Street, Annandale. Lilyfield terminus was in Catherine Street at the corner of Lilyfield Road on a bridge above railway tracks. If you stand in Minogue Crescent alongside Harold Park, looking towards the city today, this is what you see. Note the poplar trees. In the late 1950s, a Balmain-bound tram passed the same poplar trees as it arrived at Rozelle Depot Junction, controlled by a handsome signal box transferred from Campbelltown. A few metres on, Minogue Crescent crosses Johnston's Creek. The same spot in the 1950s with an outbound Balmain tram. The view from an inbound tram approaching the bridges over Johnston's Creek. and passing the points for the junction to Rozelle Depot. A coupled set of trams swings out of the depot and runs along the connecting track to the main line. A Balmain tram swings from the Crescent, previously named Commercial Road, into Victoria Road at White Bay. Further on, we are in Darling Street at Roundtree Street. Continuing towards Balmain, an inbound tram at Loyalty Square. A counterweight system enabled trams to descend the steep hill to Darling Street Wharf. A dummy car on the surface was connected to a counterweight underground by a cable running around an underground pulley at the top of the hill. A tram and the dummy on the surface were balanced by the underground counterweight, rather like the counterweight for a lift in a building. A tram bound for the wharf approaches the dummy car and pushes it down the hill. The tram approaches the railway-style buffers, the backup system for the counterweight. As shown earlier, trams from Darling Street Wharf ran on the cross-country route to Canterbury. In the last year of the counterweight's operation, they ran to the city. An inbound tram climbs the hill and leaves the dummy car to continue on its way. The Birchgrove line branched from the Balmain line at Roundtree Street. Birchgrove terminus and an inbound tram makes its way along Grove Street. This was in fact the last tram from Birchgrove, an enthusiast's tour. After 1955, the Balmain service was cut back to Roundtree Street. The first few yards of the closed Birchgrove line formed the new terminus. The Ride line was the longest in Sydney, extending nearly 11 miles from Circular Quay. Trams for Ryde and Piermont turned out of George Street at Quay Street Railway Square, an inbound tram at this corner. Turning from Quay Street into Ultimo Road, passing beneath the railway goods line leading to Darling Harbour. Harris Street and the entrance to Ultimo Depot, which provided the trams for the Ryde and Piermont services. Outbound in Harris Street, much quieter than it is today. An inbound tram. Although once the terminus of the first City Electric line in George Street, the Piermont line became a quiet backwater branch off the more important route to Ryde. This is the last tram to Piermont, an enthusiast's tour in 1953. Returning to the Ryde line, we turn from Harris Street into Miller Street, approach Glebe Island Bridge, on the bridge itself. Glebe Island Bridge and glimpses of the chimney of Walter Burley Griffin's Piermont incinerator. Victoria Road alongside Roselle Bay. The ride line was closed in stages between 1949 and 1953, with one section being briefly reopened. Our film coverage extends as far as Gladesville Bridge. White Bay Junction, from where Balmain Line trams shared the route as far as the top of the hill at Darling Street. Ride Line trams followed Victoria Road for almost all of the rest of their journey. White Bay Power Station in the background. Darling Street. Ride Line trams continued straight ahead and down towards Iron Cove Bridge. The Ride Line crossed three major bridges, Glebe Island, Iron Cove and Gladesville, the latter two having been replaced by new structures since tramway days. At right, the new Iron Cove Bridge can be seen under construction. Crossing Iron Cove Bridge, outbound trams leaving the bridge. Drummoyne Shopping Centre with an inbound tram. Drummoyne crossover at Lyons Road, terminus for the last period of the line's operation. Running downhill towards the old Gladesville Bridge. Standing at Gladesville Bridge crossover, crossing the old Gladesville Bridge. Newcastle, the second city of New South Wales, was also served by trams. A network of steam lines was mostly electrified in the 1920s. To the end of operations in 1950, the trams were painted in olive and fawn colours, a paint scheme replaced in Sydney by green and cream in the mid-1930s. The city terminus at Newcastle was at Parnell Place. A tram leaves the terminus for Wallsend, crosses Zara Street and approaches Telford Street. At Pacific Park in Hunter Street East. Inbound in Scott Street alongside the railway. Outbound trams normally ran via Hunter Street and inbound cars via Scott Street. Continuing along Hunter Street. Newcastle had a fleet of 98 trams, all of them footboard cars of the LP class. The depot for Newcastle was in Hamilton, with access from the main line in Tudor Street via Gordon Avenue. At the depot, a sprinkler car, passenger trams and the breakdown tram. Also these hearse vehicles, unique to Newcastle, which were towed behind ordinary trams for funerals. Operated in Newcastle as well as in Sydney were sprinkler cars, used to water roadways before the days of road sprinklers. The shot which follows is the only available film taken from a sprinkler car in Tudor Street, Hamilton. We continue towards Wallsend. climbing to cross the railway at Broadmeadow. The double track was reduced to single to pass beneath the Lambton Colliery Railway Bridge. Lambton cutting, trams outbound and inbound near Jesmond. Wallsend Line trams crossed railway tracks on the level at New Tunnel Crossing. These locations are shown on the map which accompanies this video. Trams shared a railway alignment at Cooperative Junction. Wallsend terminus after the line had been shortened slightly owing to bridge subsidence. Now we visit the Merriweather line, starting at Derby Street Junction. This is an inbound tram. Bar Beach, inbound. Turning out of Mitchell Street, inbound. Ridge Street, 2 inbound trams. A tram arrives at Merriweather Beach. A Glebe Line tram turns out of Hunter Street at Union Street Junction. Cooks Hill Fire Station. Union Street and Glebe Road. Between Railway Street and Glebe Road. Glebe Terminus. A tram departs for the city. On the Adamstown line heading towards Adamstown in Brunker Road. Adamstown Shopping Centre at the Glebe Road corner. Adamstown Terminus. About to leave Parnell Place for Waratah, Newcastle's last tram route. On ballasted track approaching Curlew Road near the showground. Turning into Curlew Road beside the old Broadmeadow Aerodrome. Australia Road Bridge. The Waratah line was the last to close because of the work required to strengthen this bridge for buses. End of the double track at Boreas Road. A coupled set climbs Georgetown Road towards Georgetown. Tie Street Loop. A tram approaches Waratah Terminus. To end our review of the Newcastle tramways, we'll look at some extracts from a film made just after the Second World War, believed to contain the only shots of Newcastle trams in colour.
Our main street is Hunter Street, named after an early governor of New South Wales. It has the easy atmosphere of a country town main street. The pace is leisurely. People stop for a yarn, and you meet folks you haven't seen for a while. This, then, is the story behind our city. Coal and steel and ships, the power of great machines, and the labor of men. That is the pattern of our working days for us people of Newcastle.
Returning to Sydney, we visit the lines north of the harbour which operated on a separate network but reached the city via the Harbour Bridge and the underground line to Wynyard. Toast rack trams on the Northern Bridge approach. The toll gates as they were in the 1950s. Inbound trams cross the road lanes leading to the bridge on the largest trams-only bridge in the Southern Hemisphere and perhaps in the world. At Milson's Point and at Wynyard, trams ran through platforms which had been designed for use by trains. Ramps brought the trams close to the height of the platforms. On the main span of the bridge, an inbound tram approaches the southern pylon. On the southern approach, heading into the tunnel to Wynyard. Driver's eye view as an outbound tram approaches the end of the tunnel. A tram heads north across the bridge. After the trams were replaced by buses, the tracks on the bridge were not taken over by trains as intended when the bridge was built, but were converted to 2 roadway lanes. Immediately after crossing the bridge over the approach lanes, the trams made a sharp reverse curve. Looking ahead, we can see how the tracks would have joined the railway lines at this point. Approaching North Sydney Station, trams ran alongside the railway tracks. Turning from Blue Street into Miller Street. Crow's Nest was a busy junction where the lines to Lane Cove and Chatswood diverged. Heading for Chatswood in Willoughby Road, Naremburn. An inbound tram on the Lane Cove line makes good time along the Pacific Highway approaching Gore Hill. Falcon Street, North Sydney, alongside St Leonard's Park. This tram is continuing straight ahead towards Lane Cove, while this tram turns into Miller Street, bound for Wynyard. Falcon Street had been widened, but the tram tracks remained off-centre to the end. An outbound tram turns into Falcon Street and cuts a corner at Merlin Street to reach Military Road. The depot for the North Sydney lines was in Military Road, Neutral Bay. Toast rack trams run into the depot at the end of the morning peak hour. These passengers are changing from a toast rack to a corridor tram before continuing their journey towards Mossman. The descent to the spit along Parrawee Road, cut out of the sandstone hillside, was a particularly pleasant ride. This was the main road down to the spit until the wider Spit Road was built on the western side of the ridge. Arriving at the Spit terminus, and climbing Parrawee Road. The Athol line was the scene of 3 spectacular runaways, where trams ended up in the harbour. This tram made its dive in 1952. while this tram is having a more peaceful arrival at the wharf. Many visitors to the zoo arrived by ferry and took a tram to the top of the hill. Many Sydney tram routes offered spectacular harbour or ocean views, but for a ride through the bush, the lines to Athol and to Balmoral were beyond compare. This passing loop on the climb from Athol was known as Ashton Loop. In addition to shuttle trams from the wharf to the top of the hill, other trams ran from Athol to Balmoral. On this route, we turned from Bradley's Head Road into King Max Street. Into Middle Head Road and pass a track cleaning tram known as a scrubber car. Running down Gordon Street and via a section of ballasted track to Beaconsfield Street. From Beaconsfield Street, the line dropped down to Balmoral on a spectacular alignment with harbour and bushland views. The line was rightly considered a major engineering achievement when it was opened in 1922. Some sections of this route have been used for housing, but for the most part it remains untouched, although now so heavily overgrown as to be unrecognisable as a tramway alignment. Arriving at Balmoral Beach Terminus in the Esplanade. A tram leaves the Esplanade to start to climb the hill. Trams ran from Balmoral to Athol Wharf, as already mentioned, to Chatswood, and until 1952 to Wynyard. A pair of toast-rack trams heads down the hill and arrives at Balmoral to pick up pupils from Queenwood School heading home in the afternoon. The trams climb the grade from Balmoral. There was no more pleasant way to go home than by open toast-rack tram on a sunny afternoon. Three other tram lines served ferry wharves on the northern side of the harbour. This is the Mossman Wharf line with a tram heading down Avenue Road. arriving at the wharf. Until 1935, trams terminated at Mossman on a balloon loop cut into the rock wall. This tour tram is using a remnant of the loop retained as a siding. A tram leaves the wharf and climbs Avenue Road. On the Cremorne line, a tram heads down Spofforth Street near Ranges Road. In Murdoch Street, Milson Road. For our record of Cremorne Wharf terminus, we have two glimpses of visits by special trams on tour. Milson Road with a tram approaching from the wharf and turning into Murdoch Street. Apart from the Darling Street Wharf counterweight, the Neutral Bay line was the steepest in Sydney, and this made it a haven for old four-wheel trams fitted with special brakes, long after they had disappeared from the rest of the system. A pair of E-Class trams leaves the depot for an afternoon peak hour run. The trams shunt at Neutral Bay Junction onto the branch line. Turning from Wickham Road into Carraba Road. And into Hayes Street for the run down to the wharf, protected by catch points operated by the conductor. The E's were permanently coupled pairs of four-wheel trams. Once relatively numerous, the last few saw their last use on the Neutral Bay line. Turning into Wickham Road and running back into the depot. A K-Class tram heads down Wickham Road bound for the wharf. Like the E's, the K's saw their last service on this line. These two types of trams were known as jumping jacks from the lurching ride they gave their passengers. Crowded peak hour trip, climbing Hayes Street, turning from Carraba Road into Wickham Road. Most of the Neutral Bay line was a single track, which wandered from the centre of the road to the curbside, apparently at random. Arriving at Neutral Bay Junction. In 1952, a brand new corridor tram was allocated to the line, specially equipped with an electric braking system. The new tram makes its trial runs and arrives at the wharf in regular operation, providing a comfortable contrast to the jumping jacks it replaced. After the North Sydney lines closed, ballast motors were used to remove the track from the Harbour Bridge and the line to Wynyard. This ballast motor is standing at North Sydney, where a few minutes ago we saw these trams operating in regular service. So ended 70 years of tramway operation on the lines north of the harbour. Before leaving the northern suburbs, we'll visit the system at Manly. Only a few fragments of movie film have survived to show these lines, which closed in 1939. Descending Parrawee Road on the Mossman side of the Spit on a trip to Manly about 1935. The old Spit Bridge, trams on the Manly side of the Spit, climbing from the Spit, Manly Wharf. Trams also ran from Manly to Narrabeen with a branch to Harbord. This is a view of Narrabeen Terminus, the northernmost point reached by trams in Sydney. We complete this 1935 outing with a return to Circular Quay by ferry, a trip whose pleasure is timeless. As well as the passenger trams, there was a large fleet of miscellaneous vehicles, the most interesting of which were the breakdown trams. Most of these were converted from four-wheel C-class passenger trams built about the turn of the century. They were not always as dilapidated as these examples. This breakdown tram was converted from a trailer from the steam era. In 1955, four O-class passenger trams had their centre compartments enclosed to provide a more modern breakdown vehicle. We have already glimpsed examples of these scrubber cars converted from D-class trams, also dating from the turn of the century. These trams had carborundum blocks between the wheels to clean and grind the track. This veteran seems to be acting out an ancient ritual as it grinds its way along the long siding at Moore Park. These ancient trams continued in use until the very last days of tramway operations in Sydney in 1961, and one of them returned to clean the rails on the new light rail system in 1997. Earlier in this film, we've seen examples of some of the other non-passenger vehicles, ballast motors and sprinkler cars. As late as 1956, a weed-burning tram was built on the bogie of a withdrawn passenger car. A mixture of oxygen and acetylene was used to burn weeds from the track. The weed burner was propelled or towed by a scrubber car. Finally, this is an example of another form of grinder with a large rotating carborundum wheel to grind and clean the rails. Now we visit Randwick Workshops, maintenance centre for the Sydney Tramways. Located at the corner of Darley Road and King Street, Randwick, the open section of the former workshop site is now occupied by the Randwick College of TAFE and the University of New South Wales. In bygone days, long lines of trams filled the area, waiting to be overhauled or, in the case of older trams, to be scrapped. Access to the repair shop was by traverser. And inside the buildings, a tram being lifted into the air was a common sight. Workshop employees had a special tram service to bring them to and from work. These trams are leaving the workshops